welcome back to Allotment Life. Thanks for joining me for another week on the plot. We're into September now, and the plan for today is to take a wander around, have a look at what we've got growing and see if there are any seeds that we can save for next year. If you've not saved your seeds before, you might not know what to do, so we're going to cover that in today's vlog. I hope you enjoy it. Let's head outside. When it comes to saving sunflower seeds, there's not really a rush to do it. To save your sunflower seeds, once the head's finished growing and died off, you brush these off of the sunflower, like so. And then you pop this in your shed or your greenhouse somewhere dry to completely dry out for a month or so. Here's one I prepared earlier. At that point it will start to look like this, and you can simply brush it and the seeds will come out. So that's how you save your sunflower seeds ready for next year. I've got these small paper envelopes and I'm going to pop the seeds in here and label them up. Sweet peas are very easy to collect. Cut the pod off, leave it to dry for a month or so. When it's gone crispy, you can crack it open, and inside there are your seeds. Let's do a few more. It's that simple. I'll now pop these in a tin so that they can't be eaten by mice, and they will be great to use for next year. With things like a pumpkin or a melon, I think it's quite obvious, but once you cut it open, you see the seeds inside. Put them on a kitchen towel to dry off, and they're very easy to save for the following year. Marigolds are quite fun to save seeds from. Pick off the head, cut the end off, open it up, and these are your marigold seeds. Absolutely millions of them. The same with all of the others. You put them somewhere to dry, pop them in an envelope and label them. Peas are another easy one to save. The peas are very similar to the beans. They're easier to do when they've gone dry and crispy. So you can pick the whole pod off and store that for drying, or you can open the pod up and just simply save them like this to dry out. Ooh, look at these. I love it when you open a pod and they're all sitting very neatly and perfectly formed. Right, let's save some beans for next year. These are still growing quite well, and I am still able to harvest some. As you can see here, there's some good sized beans to pick, so I'm not going to save the seeds from these, but lower down on the plant I've left some beans to grow bigger, and I've not picked them because these are the ones that I'm going to be saving for next year. These French beans are the Cobra variety. Peel it open, access your beans. You can do this with runner beans as well, it's not just French beans. As you can see, they're very damp and moist at the moment, so they need to fully dry off. I possibly haven't picked the best day to do this because it's been raining heavily all morning. Ideally, you want to pick the pods once they've turned brown and crispy like this. But as you've seen, you can still open a green one and save your seeds. Pop them in an envelope, save them for next year. It's starting to rain. Let's quickly get into the greenhouse and hide. Whilst we're in the greenhouse, we can have a look at saving your dahlia seeds. Once the flowers died off, you can snip that. And in the same way that we did with the marigolds, you can peel this back, and in here you will find all of your dahlia seeds. It's a bit tricky to do because this is wet. Ideally, you want to save your seeds on a dry day. However, this is what we're looking for. That's the seed. There are lots of them in there, and there are next year's dahlias. I think you get the idea now. With something like a tomato or a melon, you slice it open, you can visibly and clearly see the seeds, put them on a piece of kitchen towel to dry out. Once they have dried out, pop them in an envelope, label it up, and you're prepared for next year, and also you've saved a lot of money. If you've been to a garden centre, you know how expensive seeds are to buy. Yes, it's exciting to go shopping around the garden centre, I absolutely love it. However, a packet of seeds can be £3.50. If we save seeds from 10 different plants, there's 35 quid saved. I'd be interested to know if you've saved seeds before and whether you plan on doing it again this year. I have heard some people that think you shouldn't save seeds and that you should buy fresh each year. However, I've not really had a problem with using the seeds that I have saved. For example, the melon. This year, this will be my 4th one. I've still got more growing. And these were all from last year's melon. This weather is not nice at all. Oh, I could pick some tomatoes whilst I'm hiding in the greenhouse. And some cucumbers. Look at this one, it's a whopper. The temperatures in here are much cooler now. A high of 31, a low of 10 in recent days. There's your international translation. I personally think that having the greenhouse gives you an extra month of growing time, which you wouldn't get if you were growing all of this outdoors. Whilst I think of it, if you have a lot of... Have we got rain on the camera? We may have rain on the camera. We've possibly got rain on the camera. I've tried to wipe it off, but I can't make it any cleaner. So we'll continue for now. If you've got lots of sunflowers, you don't need to save millions and millions of seeds. So what I do is once I've cut the head off of the sunflower, I just leave it on the ground for the wildlife to have, and I'll often see the birds nibbling away at it. The big birds, like the pigeons, they can't land on the sunflower and peck into the seeds because they're too big and it will fall down. So that's why I like to put some on the floor. It stopped raining, so I'm back outside now, and the next thing I want to do today is put some straw under some of the pumpkins that have grown recently, like this one. The bigger ones that have been out for a while are already sitting on a bed of straw, but on a day like this when there's lots of rain, we don't really want them to be sitting on soggy ground. I have a large box of straw which I've saved. I've been keeping it nice and dry. This was the straw that was around the strawberries, and I just collected it up to reuse. This one's a bit trickier to get to. There we go. It is one of those times where you need more than 2 hands, really. You don't have to use straw for this if you've not got any. I'm just choosing to use that as I had some saved. You could put it on some cardboard, however that will quickly get damp. Your other option is to raise it up on a flower pot, and I'll show you that option now. Let's demonstrate with this one here. So I've just got a medium-sized plastic plant pot. I'm going to raise the pumpkin and then attempt to balance it on the flower pot. Like I said, I don't have enough hands at this point. Oh, there we go. Ta-da! So that's another option. These pumpkins are not yet ready to harvest because the stem coming out of the top is still green. We need to wait for that to turn brown and dry off. But they're now all sitting on a nice raised bed of straw or on a flower pot so that they don't go soggy. I love growing pumpkins, I think it's great fun. Last year I grew 10 different varieties, and this year I didn't even count how many varieties I was doing. Let me know if you grow pumpkins. I grow decorative ones as well as edible ones, so that I've got a nice display for Halloween, but we can also cook with them as well. I think it's time to show you the wildlife camera footage, pack up at the allotment, and I'll see you again next week. It's really hard to tell whether I think the foxes are getting better or not, but I will keep putting their herbal remedy out. I've got a small amount left, so we'll keep going until the end of the bottle and then decide what to do after that. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a great week, and I'll see you next Friday.